Patient experience is always changing. There's always new technology, new processes, new best practices, and of course, the occasional curveball thrown by new regulations and new compliance. That's why whenever I want to find out more about this particular area of healthcare, I turn to my next guest, who is an expert in this field. Hello and welcome to Swaay.Health, where we bring you the latest insights and interesting stories from the brightest minds in healthcare marketing and patient experience. I'm Colin Hung, and I'm here in Denver, Colorado at the Elevate PX conference. And I'm about to sit down with Jason Wolf, who's the president and CEO of the Beryl Institute, the host of this conference. I love speaking with Jason because he has always got his finger on the pulse of what's happening in patient experience. So I can't wait to ask him where he is seeing healthcare organizations making investments in this area and what's got him excited about patient experience over the next few months. Let's get to it. Jason, always a pleasure to have you on the program. Welcome.
Thanks, man. It's great to be with you again. It feels like I haven't seen you forever, but yes, it's just been yesterday.
It does feel like that, but I think the last time I was here was pre-pandemic.
Yeah, it's possible.
At the show.
It's crazy to think. So,
well,
oof.
Jason, I mean, your opening keynote was awesome. I love those 2 slides you presented. But before we dive into that, can you give us, our audience, a quick overview of the Beryl Institute?
Yeah, I mean, so the Beryl Institute, we are a global community of champions around the human experience in healthcare. And so we represent voices of tens of thousands of people in literally 85 plus countries that are committed to making healthcare better for the people that we serve in healthcare every day, the people who show up to serve in healthcare every day, and the communities in which our healthcare organizations operate. And so in our ability to do all those things, we are a place where people come together to openly share ideas, to take back practices and processes, and to create evidence and research that really help expand and innovate the conversation and moving how we transform the human experience in healthcare.
You know, Jason, that's one of the things I really noticed after having been away for so long and hearing your opening keynote, just the amount of focus now that's on the people who are providing care alongside the people who are receiving care. Because I remember when we first got started, it was all around the patient, as it should be, with a little bit of stuff for the folks providing the care. But very clearly in your message, it's equal focus on both. Tell me more about that.
Yeah, well, it's interesting because I think we have always had, if you want to call it a bias towards that from the start, if you look at the definition of patient experience that we even released now 14 years ago coming up, that talks about experience as the sum of all interactions based on an organization's culture. I mean, you can't deliver experience unless you actually create a fundamental, sound, healthy, vibrant culture for organizations. So we were probably less explicit in calling out exactly what you're saying, though, like we have to care for the people who show up to serve every day. And I think that was a big rallying cry for us, I think, up to the pandemic. I think the pandemic, for many of us, realized that the burnout that we kind of acknowledged and said, oh, we'll figure it out, was just cracked wide open during the pandemic. And the issues of the stress and strain and the well-being of our workforce became so incredibly central to our ability to provide good care. And so I think the opportunity that we had was to really elevate in that message, not to use the elevate pun, I guess, but I mean, to make sure I think that people understood that that part of the equation was as equally important. And it's only that way in which we can deliver on our care. Without the folks that show up to work, we'd have patients laying in beds, not getting care at all. And so it is, maybe it's a little chicken and egg if you want to say, but I think that, the realities is our patients are our core of why we do this work. But we do it through ensuring healthy people in our workforce to deliver on that promise.
So Jason, I've seen you walking around talking to a lot of people. A lot of people come up and talk to you. What are you hearing here at Elevate in terms of any trends, any topics that are really top of mind?
Yeah, I mean, I think we all can acknowledge right now that healthcare, regardless of what health system you're in or what country in which you operate and live, there is tremendous strain on the financials of healthcare systems. And so I think there is a conversation around how we accomplish what we need to accomplish in a resource-constrained environment. And I think that is a little bit hangs over the conversation. I've always believed a commitment to experience isn't about big dollars investments, and finding spend. It's really about choosing the right things to do. And I think what you find, and if you get beyond that, the prevailing conversation is, we know, like we talked about, that there is a strain on our workforce, and how do we help support that? We know that our patients really have now said what they need. That was just also sort of made even more clear through the pandemic. Listen to me, communicate to me in simple, clear ways I can understand. Help me understand my care plan so I can be an active partner in care. So it's not as if I think new ideas have permeated the conversation, but we've really catalyzed and expanded upon how important those things really were. But I would add, I think the one piece, and it came out in Dennis Pullen's keynote this morning, and I think he does this beautifully in his health system, and others do as well, is the whole importance of realizing we operate not in isolation as healthcare organizations, but in communities. So when you create health and well-being in your communities, you actually manage access issues because you have healthier people out there that don't need to access your system in there. And when we can create systems of well-being and wellness in our communities, that's the fundamental opportunity in the human experience. So I do think you're starting to hear that work its way into the conversation, those three pieces of how I've always defined human experience: the patient, the colleagues, as Dennis talked about them, or your team, and then the communities in which we operate. So.
First of all, gotta congratulate you on the book that you announced on stage, and I know you have a few more coming. What else is next for Beryl?
Yeah, I mean, for us, there's just an opportunity, I think, to do a couple things. I will say that we have an opportunity, one, to be better advocates for this effort at the executive level.
Okay.
And so one of the reasons the books are important, because I think executives look for tangible things, to be honest. I lived in that space for a while. I understand what people look for, and so helping make that case. I also mentioned yesterday the value case that we're putting out, grounded in an extensive amount of evidence and literature that says this isn't just a nice conversation. When you actually commit to experience, you impact patients, you impact the workforce, you impact your financial viability, you impact your community. So I think a focus on executive advocacy and helping leaders understand how important this conversation is an opportunity that we have. The other piece for us, really, and you heard me also allude to this, is around the global growth of this movement. And the reality that we hear from folks like Dr. Marcelo Alvarenga from Brazil, Vita Steiner from Latvia. We've got a huge contingency from Southeast Asia here that are all working on developing experience movements in their own regions and countries. And so for me, back to our fundamental principle at the Institute that we were talking about earlier, we are a home built on collaboration and shared learning. There aren't boundaries to that. And so the ability for us to integrate and engage people where they are in this conversation, and then for us to not have it be about the Beryl Institutes now in Latvia or in Brazil, but we, through our network, foster the growth of regional networks that can really address what matters in those places, is a really important thing for me in terms of what we're doing. How we foster the growth of a movement that is really owned by the people where they live.
Jason, you've shared a lot of great information with us today. Where can people go to find more information about Beryl Institute?
Well, it's really easy. So we're www. I love saying that too. It's at theberylinstitute.org. Is a great place to come. I mean, it's a wealth of resources and a link to pretty much everything we have. And I think one of the things that's been really true to our value at that site is that almost half of everything that we produce is open to the world, open access. I mean, that idea of shared learning and improvement is foundational to who we are. And so I hope people will visit the site to find out more, access the information they have. And also, I think we're growing together. Give us feedback if you see things that we're missing, or inject your own thoughts, or submit your own content. So this is an invitation to everyone that's listening that, we're not like a finite bounded entity. We are an open field in which if you have something you're working on or passionate about, this is a place you can contribute your thoughts, your practices, your innovations and ideas. And so I hope people consider this an invitation as well to step into the community and be part of it.
That's definitely, it's a great community to be part of. It is, as you say, it's just a great community of people who just love what they do and love patients, love each other. It is great to be here. And by the way, you are a very good singer. You were singing up on stage there. I noticed that.
You missed 2 years ago. I said I sang them up. It's 2 years ago. So I
did miss
enjoyed
that.
the singing part, but it
was
was
a lot of
really
fun.
fun to open up with that song this year. So
Congratulations.
thank you
Jason,
so
always
much,
a pleasure
Tom.
to have
Thank
you.
you for being. Really appreciate you being here. It's so great to see you again, my friend, and thanks for the time.
Take it easy.
Awesome. Thanks.
Hey, I want to thank Jason for coming on camera with me and talking about what he is seeing in terms of patient experience. I especially appreciated his comment about the duality of patient experience now and how it is not all about the patient. There's recognition now that in order to provide the best care and the best experience possible, you not only need to improve the patient side of the experience equation, but you also need to improve the provider side of the equation. We have to improve both for the physicians and the clinicians who take care of patients in order to elevate overall patient experience. And hey, if you enjoyed this interview as much as I did, please like and subscribe. Also, head on over to Swaay.Health, that's Sway with 2 A's, .health, where you'll find more great content like this. I'm Colin Hung. Thanks for being here, and I'll catch you on the next episode.